Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Jazz on Sports. I'm your host, Jasmine Pollock, and I'm good. It feels good to be back. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about draft weekend and what happened, my thoughts and everything like that. So let's get started. The draft. So I'm going to say this. I think every team that I saw that got certain draft picks, I think most of the teams did pretty well. I think a lot of teams got the needs that they needed. I thought, a lot of teams, are starting to get more in the mix of like being playoff teams and things like that. And one of those teams was the Tennessee Titans. We know Cam Ward went number one overall to the Tennessee Titans. They had a very good draft, and I think they're going to be a team to reckon with in that AFC South division with the Texans. They're going to be definitely a team to watch. Of course, you have Travis Hunter, Heisman Trophy winner, going to Jacksonville because we know Jacksonville traded with the Cleveland Browns and things of that nature. But when we look at what happened and we talk about Shedeur Sanders, his father being Deion Sanders and things of that nature, right? I have a theory that I believe the reason why. Now, I did not expect him to go that low. I was really shocked and really upset about that because we talk about, his dad was like this, his dad was like that, and things like that. But we've seen a lot of players with cockiness, players that were overly confident that have come out of the draft for years. There's so many players that have said a lot of things and been boastful about things for years. So I knew it wasn't that. There was rumors he didn't interview well. Okay, but then you have people making certain calls for getting his number. You got people who are calling him and, pretending to be an NFL team. And that's a little interesting. And we've seen that time and time again. It's not the first time that's happened, but it's a little interesting how the media has, navigated through this whole situation. But my theory is the reason why Shedeur Sanders went in the fifth round, dropped that far, is because of ratings. There's been a conversation of the league, the first round. I'm going to be honest. I'm as a sports fan, I don't sit and watch the draft after the day one. I usually go on my phone, go on Twitter and things like that and just check it that way. But why wouldn't you, the last day, the biggest talk, the biggest story, Shedeur Sanders going in the fifth round, why wouldn't that happen, right? So when we look at that, I believe that has a lot to do with the ratings, and the NFL spends a lot of money at these different venues. I know they had it in Green Bay this year. So, of course, they're trying to recoup that money. And if there's a way for them to potentially use this moment to get more ratings, get more viewership, and get people to watch, a lot of people don't watch after the first round. A lot of people don't watch. A lot of people don't watch the second and third day and so on and so forth. But why not draft him in the fifth round, which is interesting. I do not think Shedeur Sanders is a fifth rounder at all. We all know that. We saw the tape. We saw what he was able to do. And even Cam Ward, who was the number one overall pick out of Miami to the Tennessee Titans, said himself at his press conference that Shedeur Sanders is the only quarterback that can make certain plays no other quarterback was doing in the country. And this is the number one overall pick talking. So regardless if you don't like him or his father, we need to step back and really assess talent. Do you want, and especially with teams where I'm looking at teams who need quarterbacks, you look at the New Orleans Saints, right? They need a quarterback. The fans don't want Derek Carr, don't want Spencer Rattler. They don't want these guys. They wanted Shedeur. The fans wanted Shedeur. And when we look at a lot of things that's happened, of course, it has a lot to do with their attack on Deion because a lot of people do not like Deion. But at the same time, Deion has changed a lot of things as we know it for not only just sports, but at the collegiate level. What he was able to do with Colorado, what he was able to do to bring that, he could have went to any other school, but he chose Colorado and Colorado chose him. And he has revived that program. Ticket prices have went up. Revenue has went up. A lot of different things, viewership, so many different things have happened with the organization for him to be there. And then for him to bring Travis Hunter there, to bring his sons there, and for them to get an opportunity and bring so many other players the opportunity. And one quick key that a lot of people probably doesn't know is Colorado was the number one school in the draft to have the most wide receivers go. And I find that funny that Colorado was number one with all the receivers getting drafted. Most receivers coming out of the draft came out of Colorado. And we demean the quarterback that threw to them because of his name. It has nothing to do with his talent. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with quote unquote off the field. And I don't understand that, because that was a report that came out as well of off the field issues. And the kid has never had off the field issues. It's his confidence in who his father is. And it's so funny to me when we have organizations like the Dallas Cowboys who are filled with Jerry Jones leniency. His son, it's everything when Jerry Jones, either if he decides to retire or when his time comes to hang it up or whatever, his son is going to take his place, and nobody blinks an eye, no one bats an eye, no one questions it. But when it seems like we're seeing a pattern of, we look at LeBron James and Bronny, we look at Dion and his son, there's somewhat of a problem when it comes to certain players and them putting their sons in position to be successful when there's a lot of other people doing that. We're talking about, look into next year's draft. Arch Manning is coming out. We know who his uncles are. We know who his father is and his grandfather is. No one's having that conversation about them. No one is. And that's one of the Manning brothers. That's one of the Mannings. There's no question about that. But when it comes to Shedeur and Dion, there's a problem because of their personality. When there's nothing wrong to me. There's one thing of being cocky and there's one thing of being very confident. And we have a lot of that, especially in our community, where people take shots. People are very, competitive. And I do think for this kid, and we have to commend Shedeur, for this kid to grow up the way he did, silver spoon, nice things, best education, things like that, because his dad did what he needed to do in the league to provide them with that type of lifestyle, and still want to go play football, and not only play football, but play quarterback. And for him to get hit, for him wanting to take those hits, for him to want to learn and want to really compete, that says a lot about him and his character and how he was raised. And then let's give Shiloh as well a shout out, him getting drafted to the Buccaneers. I give him a real shot because he is a hitter. He has to do better with a lot of like his techniques and his fundamentals. But I like that for Shiloh going to Tampa Bay. I think he would fit very well in what Todd Bowles likes to do and things like that. He would definitely get an opportunity to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But what I don't want people to do either is, we can't take away all the other great stories that come out of this draft because of Shedeur. And it's not Shedeur's fault, but it's the media. The media was really bent on Shedeur Sanders coverage for the past week, and again, I agree with people saying Cam Ward is the least talked about number one overall pick, and I agree with that. We need to celebrate all these players because there's so many great stories that have come out of this draft that I'm looking forward to seeing. Of course, we know why Shedeur is talked about because of his father and his last name, but we need to talk about all of these stories. We need to shed light on all these great players that have the opportunity to change not only the organization's life, but their life, their families' lives. And we saw so many great stories. And we need to shed light on that, even though Shedeur is a good story. All of them are good stories, but we need to talk about how these players have overcome a lot of different things and are able to compete at the highest level. We are talking about also some players not getting drafted that we expected to get drafted. There's just, this whole draft really showed a lot about where the league is. And I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories right now, but there's so much going on in the league and a lot of things are changing, and we're seeing that, and people have seen what the league is all about. And now when we look at the NFL, you did that to Shedeur for whatever your reasons are. He had a bad interview, his dad, whatever it is. You did that. And now when he did get drafted, on your NFL profiles, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you have Shedeur as your first pin post out of all the players. So you know who's going to be bringing in the ratings and the conversation, and you do that, and you set this narrative on this kid, but you use him for your promotion. That's what I have an issue with. So you use him for 3 days. Oh, is Shedeur getting drafted? Is he going undrafted? Where is he going to land? you use that, you perpetrate that, and then again, when he gets drafted, you're using that, and then you're selling jerseys. If I'm the fans, which I've seen a lot of people are doing and talking about, if Shedeur has merch, you buy it from Shedeur's personal page, not the NFL. If you really want to, quote unquote, boycott something, do it in that way. And that is what a lot of people are talking about. Again, I'm just the messenger. That's not my personal thing. But when we talk about a lot of these things, it is so funny how the league talks about so many things of, we want those stars. We want those guys, that put their teams on their back. We want that flashy story. But with Shedeur, it's a problem. The kid's never been an issue, but because of his personality and who his dad is, that's where we draw the line. When we've seen time and time again, certain players have done things. I'm not going to say those names because I know they're getting better and they are in the league doing great things. But at the time, we've seen a lot of players do a lot of things in college that question their character. They get drafted in the top 5. So it has nothing to do with character then. If that's what the league is going by, then we need to have another conversation. But I digress. But again, I want to shout out to all of the draftees who did get drafted, all the undrafted free agents who signed with the team. And I really did. And overall, this was a good draft, regardless of the hoopla. I love what a lot of teams have done to propel themselves. My Green Bay Packers did very well. We got a receiver in the first round, which I was, really shocked about. But I was glad we got a good receiver. We got defensive ends. We got O-linemen. We got people to bolster up the team. I see a lot of teams did very well. Tennessee, again, did very well. Jacksonville with Travis Hunter, I think they're going to build something. There's a lot of teams that are going to do very well. I thought the Bucs had a very good draft. A lot of teams had a very good draft. But when we look at it, I want everyone to just, especially the media, talk about a lot of these guys, talk about these stories that we've seen, not just Shedeur's story. There's a lot of stories that are going to be written. There's a lot of stories that are going to be, that we're going to see in real time and remember this moment. But I think for the NFL, you have added immense amount of pressure on the quarterbacks that went before Shedeur. And it's not their fault. It's not Shedeur's fault that happened. But the league, being that you have the power of public opinion, you have fans that feel a particular way, and so many things like that. And now you draft Shedeur in the 5th round to Cleveland, who drafted a quarterback the day prior. You put a lot of pressure on other quarterbacks, the young quarterbacks that are still trying to make a name for themselves, that are heading into their first year as an NFL quarterback. So we'll see. I hope everyone succeeds. I hope Shedeur succeeds, Cam Ward, a lot of these guys. I really hope they succeed because they earn their right to be where they are. Whether we agree, I don't agree Shedeur going that low. I don't agree him dropping that low. But again, politics plays a role in a lot of these things. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on. But I hope everyone performs well. I hope every draft pick, every undrafted free agent does an exceptional job, and I hope everyone gets their stripes. I hope every team gets what they got, out of their players. They pick the right players, and we get that. And I hope the league learns from this, and I hope this doesn't backfire the way people are predicting it to backfire. But that wraps up the show. Thank you all for everyone. I will see you guys next time on Jazz on Sports. If any of you have any topics you would like me to discuss, please make sure to comment down below on my YouTube page. My email's on there as well. I will see you guys next time. Have a good week.